Hi, Student Success. Welcome to week 1 of your 8-week session. If you have not already watched the welcome video, please make sure under the Start Here folder, you'll scroll down just a little bit, and here is my welcome video. I also sent this to you in a link in the email I sent out the week before the semester started, so some of you may have already had a chance to view this video. You are also welcome to watch the course video tour through eSARC State if you want even more of kind of a walkthrough of the course. So as I said in my welcome video, your Start Here section is the area that you'll most likely go to more toward the beginning of our session than later on in the session, just because it does have those welcome videos. It has access to your copies of your syllabus, the welcome that tells you a little bit about myself, a course book text link, although this is embedded in every week as well, and then some just general resources and things to expect as you're taking this class online. As I said in the welcome video as well, over here on this side, we have our course messages and announcements. Again, anything I send out as an announcement, I will also copy and send out as a course message, and vice versa. Unless it's a personal message to you, I will send that within your course messages to you individually. Then, of course, your course calendar, which just goes over when things are due, which you can also find those in the syllabus and the weekly announcements, videos, and messages. And then your grades, where you can check on your progress anytime you would like. And then here are different links to different resources and offices or places on campus that can assist you. So lessons is where you're going to spend most of your time. So again, in here, just a quick refresher, student lounge is where you're going to go to just introduce yourself, and then all throughout the semester, you are welcome to go in there and post, like tidbits or recommendations for movies or whatever it might be. Muddy Point is where you would go to ask questions either to myself or anyone can answer those questions. Here's another link to your textbook access. Again, inside each individual week, you will see the chapter links in there, but this is just one access point. Now, if you have not taken your required syllabus quiz yet, you're going to need to kind of stop the recording at this point and take that syllabus quiz, because then and only then can you view the week 1 folder and complete the assignments. So you have to take the required syllabus quiz and get a 100% in order to view week 1. So if you're watching this video from a link from the email and you have not completed the required syllabus quiz, you want to make sure you go ahead and do that, because you will not have access to that week 1 folder yet. Okay, and then as I mentioned in the welcome video, the student services assignment. So if you pop in there, this is due at the end of week 8. So this is December time, but this is going to go very quickly. And I'm actually recording this at the end of the first 8-week session. And I can tell you, I have 150 students in those courses right now. And a huge handful of them started panicking this week 8 of their session, because they didn't register and take a workshop in time. And I always say this in the very first week of the semester, please look at this list now. Plan now, because you cannot assume toward the end of November, beginning of December, you're going to find a workshop that fits with your schedule. So you want to do this now. It is 20 points. And so you're going to go into MySARC State, into academic support. It's probably going to log me out. Academic support under student success workshops. And by the time you watch this video, we'll be down toward the end of October time. So you can see October 27th, there's October 26th, and then November, there's another big chunk of workshops going on in November and just one in December. So please do not wait until the end of November, because as you can see, you will not have very many choices left at all at that point. So please make sure, I would say right now, look in through this list, what's left in October, and then what's coming up in November, and register for your workshop so that you can have it on your calendar ready to go. So you're not waiting to the last minute and then realizing you're going to miss those 20 points. Once you take your workshop, most workshops, when you're done, will be right here. You'll go into organizations. This is after you've completed the workshop. You've already done the workshop. You've watched it inside Handshake. You'll come to organizations and there'll be a survey you take, and after you take the survey, your certificate will appear. That's for a good chunk of them. Some of them, they may email you directly. Okay, so I just want you to keep that in mind. All right, so let me get back into our course here. I just wanted to make sure you could see where that was. We're going to go ahead and pop into week 1 now. So I apologize, this video is going to be a little lengthy because we're an 8-week course, which means for many weeks, there are 2 chapters in 1 week because we have to condense everything. It's so accelerated. So this is chapter 1 and chapter 2. So typically I will go through and I will quote unquote lecture. I'll go over the information in the chapters, and then I'll go over the assignments that you're completing for that week. So just as a quick review, we are working on week 1 from October 25th through the 31st. So as an overview, you will have 2 discussion forums this week, posting by Wednesday for week 1 attendance. And then you'll have responding to classmates by Sunday, and then you'll have these other 2 assignments by Sunday as well. So I will go over those more in depth after I go through chapters 1 and 2. So you can see in the materials folder, you'll have the overview of what is going on for the week. Then you'll have direct links to the textbooks as well as slides. So the textbook links I will show you. I will use my slides as the main part of the lecture, but when you actually get into the textbook, you can navigate through and pay attention to the specific sections that you think you need the most attention to. So you'll see what I mean as I go through here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up chapter 1 slides. And I'm going to use these to kind of guide my discussion a little bit. You can see they're lengthy. I'm not going to go through every one word for word. So real quickly, chapter 1 talks about your college experience and just kind of knowing what to expect while you're in college and the kinds of things that you should be doing to prepare yourself for the college experience. Now, what's unique about our 8-week session is some of you have already been in classes for 8 weeks. And so you are already coming into this class with a little bit more prior knowledge and awareness of what's expected. There might be some of you, though, where you didn't start until the second 8 weeks. So some of you might be in different places. And so this chapter is going to talk about kind of knowing what your plan is. How long do you think you're going to be in college? What's the most difficult part, do you think, of earning your degree? What kind of obstacles are you going to come across? So kind of thinking ahead about those areas to try to prepare yourself the best possible. You also want to think about what matters most to you. What are your values? And ideally, the values that you'll hold are the things that are going to align with kind of the career path you're going into as well. So really taking a look at your values is important to do early on in your college career. So again, kind of connecting that, your values to your major then, knowing your major early on is helpful, although that's not always a requirement. You don't have to know exactly what you want to do as soon as you enter college. Maybe you know you want to do something in the health field. You're just not sure what that is yet. And that's what these first few semesters are all about, trying to figure out what it is you would like to do. So trying to kind of figure that all out can be overwhelming if you're not 100% sure. So this does go through some kind of self-assessments, if you will, some personality, some career link resources. We have a career services office on campus. If you're at the homepage and you go down, there is something called Career Coach. This is actually going to be an assignment in a few weeks, but if you wanted to work ahead, you are certainly welcome to. There's a career assessment, and you can take the 60-question assessment. Don't let that kind of scare you off, because this is literally just agree, disagree, and so on. If you're not sure where you want to go with your career, if you're not sure what you want to do, you can take this assessment. It's going to give you some results, and then if you want to save them, you'll have them for a couple weeks from now when we actually have to do this assignment anyway. You don't have to do this now. It's just kind of a think ahead type thing. But that's also if you're undecided, if you're not 100% sure what you want to do, doing a career assessment kind of like that could be helpful. So you also want to think, as well as like your values and knowing what your career path is kind of your past educational experience. Some of you might still be in high school. You're a current CCP student. Others of you may have tried college, it didn't work out, so now you're coming back. Some of you have been in the workforce for a while and you're trying to change things up. Some of you might just be right out of high school. The point is, we're all at different points, and so you have to kind of adjust your expectation and use your past experiences to help you as you move forward. So helping to know what kind of experiences you're going to have, like here at Stark State, is going to assist you in being more successful. So knowing that, you're going to have a lot of like lecture type courses. You're going to have a lot of study time that's going to be required outside of class. you're going to be meeting a lot of different people. So again, just those expectations and knowing what to expect. Okay, so that's again what chapter 1 is going to focus on, is talking about, looking at how your attitude is going to impact your motivation and how you're going to view your success, making sure that you're being managed by yourself. Like at this point, I, as your instructor, I cannot talk to your parents. I cannot talk to someone who is not you, because you are an adult. So you need to make sure that you are kind of managing those kind of things, making sure you're following up with yourself, being self-guided, self-directed, and taking that responsibility. So some of you may fall into these different components, and this is going to talk about like different types of students. Some of you might be what's considered traditional, meaning you just graduated maybe back in May or maybe last year. So you're, 17, 18, 19 years old, more of a traditional student. Some of you are returning students, meaning again, you've maybe been out of school for a little while. And so you are getting readjusted to the academic environment. You're maybe part-time, and you have other things going on. You're juggling work and school and family and everything like that. And so it can get a little overwhelming. And then these are what's called other student groups. Technically, everyone here on our campus are commuter students because we don't have on-campus living situation. Some of you might be what's considered first generation. You're the first person in your family to attend college. And those students typically have a little bit more obstacles because they don't have someone in their immediate family. You might have like an aunt or an uncle or a cousin, but in your immediate household who has gone to college, and that can present some issues sometimes because they may not know how to help you either. And so we have resources here on campus that can help first generation college students. So for instance, I'm going to go back to the Stark State homepage, and I'm going to go info for current students, and I'm going to scroll down real quick, and I'm going to show you a Trio. This is a program that is specifically geared to either low-income students or first-generation college students. And so there are really great support on our campus. If you are interested in more information about Trio, send me a quick email. I will be happy to, email you some information, talk to you about them, whatever you might need, or you can go and kind of, call or email on your own if you're interested as well. Okay, so we also have a lot of students, especially here at Stark State in North Canton, Ohio. We have a lot of students where English is their second, third, fourth language. We have a lot of students with different abilities. So being just aware of all of these different student groups is also one of these things that is helpful going into the college situation, so you know what to expect. Okay, so the next part of the chapter talks about, what does it mean to be a successful student? So again, this idea of having a good attitude and being motivated is going to come up, making sure that you are, again, looking at how are your time management, how are your critical thinking skills, and knowing if you need to brush up on those kind of things, because those are attributes that are attributed to successful students. Okay, so these are, again, profiles of a successful student, and I encourage you to take a look at these and look to see, do I have these things? Do I do well with these? Where do I have room for improvement? The next section talks about the learning process, just in general, the cycle of learning. And so I want you also to think of yourself, what parts of these do you already do? What parts do you need to maybe freshen up on? So one of the first parts is preparing. So making sure that you're prepared to learn, whether that means prepared for an online class or prepared for a physical class. You have read the textbook ahead of time, you have got all your materials ready to go, and then you're absorbing, you're taking in new ideas. Maybe that means you're sitting and listening, you're taking notes, you having an open mind, you're putting information into your own words. Then you have capturing. So this goes into a deeper level. So this is when you really start looking at your own notes. This is when you're trying to really look to see how your memory is with the information, and then you review that information. So you read over, you study with a study group, you talk about the information with someone else. So that's the learning cycle, and that's going to apply no matter what field you're in. So again, kind of think about, what do you do well, what do you need to improve on in those areas. Another thing that this chapter talks about is, what's your learning style? There are multiple different intelligences. We are all smart in different types of ways. I will be the first to admit that I am no good when it comes to kind of understanding my space and things around me. It's just not my thing. But verbal, I've got it. So like I know where I'm strong and I know where I struggle. And so knowing that about yourself is really helpful. So I'm going to recommend, it is not a requirement, bark-learn.com. If you would like to go to this, if you don't know your learning preference, you can go here and you'll scroll down and what is your learning preference? And you'll close the ad there. And then you're going to see a series of questions and you're just going to read through these scenarios and you're going to click the one or two, no more than two, that sound like what you would do in that situation. After you go through, you'll click OK, and it's going to give you results. You're going to fall into the category of maybe a visual, oral, read, write, kinesthetic, or multimodal. And it's going to tell you what each of those mean, as well as what can you be doing in class and out of class to be more effective in your studies. So I think that's helpful early on to really know that about yourself if you don't already. Okay, so again, I encourage you to do that. It's not required, but I encourage you to do that if you've never done something like that before. So again, the next couple slides talk about, helping yourself with the learning style can really make a difference with, as I mentioned, the time you spend inside of class as well as the time you spend outside of class, so that if you are a audio learner, you should be investing your time listening and absorbing information that way, versus if you're a read-write learner, you're going to focus a lot of your energy on taking notes and reading them over. So knowing those things are going to help you maximize your time as well. Okay, so these are all going through, again, if you're a read-write learner, listening, more visual, and hands-on. Okay, so again, I encourage you to take a look at those. Those go into more depth with that. Our next section talks about how, just like you have a learning style, instructors have their own teaching style. So each instructor you come across is going to lecture or convey information in a particular way. And sometimes students have to kind of adapt to that. And if that becomes an issue, talking to your instructor to get ideas on how you can best learn from them is not a bad thing. So you want to make sure that you are aware that not every instructor is going to teach the way that is going to always reach you the easiest. And so just being adaptable and flexible is helpful. Okay, so the next couple of slides talk about just the different kinds of class setups. You have lecture classes, you have lab classes, you have your core courses, which are connected to your major. You have electives, which are kind of the things that either are just for fun or they're part of your degree plan, but you have a little bit of flexibility. You can choose like 2 classes out of this list of 5, so knowing how those are set up are important. And that's one of the things we're going to do in this class is look at your requirements and know what you have to do for your particular major. Obviously, you're in this group, so you know a little bit about online courses. Maybe you know a lot more. Online courses, I will always say, are way more, to me, time-consuming and challenging than a face-to-face class. I spend way more time with my online classes preparing, grading, conveying information, because you have to be very clear with online classes because they're not right there in front of you all the time. Same thing as a student, you have to be very diligent because you don't have that instructor right in front of you. And so these tips will go over like how to make an online course a little bit more successful for yourself. In addition, you have class attendance. Obviously, in a face-to-face class, class attendance is extremely important. In an online class, we take class attendance by discussion posts. So you want to make sure that you are doing what you need to do in in physical classes, as well as knowing about the different policies throughout the college. And we'll talk a little bit about this throughout the semester as well. Different resources. I've already visited this site. I'm just going to draw your attention to it again. Stark State Info for current students. This is a whole list of all these great resources we have on campus. And as I always tell my students, you have already paid for this as part of your tuition. So you've already paid for the Career Services Office. You've already paid for the Science Learning Center. You've already paid for the Testing Center. Just utilize them. They're there for you. That's why they're there. So making sure you're aware of all those different resources. So knowing where to go. And then also just thinking about how anytime you come across a roadblock it's not a failure as long as you're still pushing through and learning from it. So this is going to talk to you about kind of looking at failures, looking at your grades and the role that they play in your college career, and just general kind of success tips to get started more successfully as you, for some of you, continue on your first semester, or maybe some of you are just starting your first semester. Okay. So again, in the actual chapter, I encourage you to look through all the chapters. We'll start off with like a little quick self-assessment. Where are you? Where do you want to go? And then it'll go through more detail connected to the lecture that I just went through. So if you feel like there's certain things that you need to really pay attention to, you really want to talk about, you know what, my attitude's not great, I need to really look at this part, you know, developing a positive attitude. So maybe that's where you're going to focus in on. Or maybe some of you are not sure where you are with your major. So you're going to focus in on, you know, looking at these career assessments and trying to figure out what you want to do. So again, I encourage you, take a look at whatever sections are going to benefit you most and really spend your time there. Okay, so that is chapter 1. I'm just going to close some of these out so there's not as many tabs going. So then we're going to go ahead and go to chapter 2. So here's the textbook link again, chapter 2, and you can go to where you think you need to spend your most time. But real quickly, chapter 2 is going to be mostly about like staying motivated and organizing your space and time. So I'll go through these slides. So staying motivated, motivation really is what's going to push you through. I can say that this time of the semester, this halfway point, is where a lot of students do start to lose momentum because it does get really stressful midterms, or you're starting a new session during the, you know, the middle of the regular semester. And so you really want to find out what motivates you. So that might be, you have to set some goals. You have to think of what your long and short-term goals are, because that is going to help drive you whenever things get a little, you know, sticky, or you're just not sure how you're going to succeed. Coming back to your goals are going to be really helpful. So again, I know some of you have already started the semester back in August, but for this 8-week session, I think it's still helpful. Maybe just go ahead and jot down some goals. You know, throughout this 8 weeks, you really want to improve on time management, or you really want to improve on your test taking, whatever the goals might be. Jot those down, and so that you can kind of come back to them. When I was working on my doctorate, I had Post-it notes all over my home. Honestly, you ask my husband, it was quite annoying, but it was a nice visual reminder. I would say things like, don't you want your PhD? Shouldn't you be reading? I really want to, you know, publish my dissertation, whatever it was. Those actual visual reminders throughout different places in my home really helped kind of give myself a little kick, if you will, if I got a little like drugged down or, you know, just tired. So you really want to set those goals and revisit those goals. And you also want to make sure your goals are SMART goals. If you've ever heard of that acronym, SMART goals. Our textbook uses the SMRF. Are they specific? So let's say your goal is, I want a good GPA. Okay, that's nice in theory, but that's not very specific. A good GPA to you might be something very different to someone else. So you might say, I want a 3.2 GPA. Okay, is that specific? Pretty specific. Is it measurable? Well, yeah, you can measure that GPA. Is it realistic? If you know that you have the time and the energy and the dedication, then I would say it's a pretty realistic goal. Is it flexible? Here's the thing that some people forget. You can set a goal and then go back and adjust it. If you want a 3.2 GPA and your A and P class is just kicking your butt this semester, you can be like, you know what? I'm going to give myself some grace. I'm going to go for a 3.0 GPA. And that's okay. It's okay to adjust as needed, or make it higher if you think you can go higher. So there are different types of goals. You know, you have your short-term, your intermediate, and your long-term goals. For most of you, I'm assuming your long-term goal is to get your degree or to get your certificate, and then you work your way backward from there. So you want to make sure you kind of look at those different levels. And then process goals are the things that you're going to do to reach your goals. So if your long-term goal is to get your degree, that's going to kind of help set the stage for your short-term and mid-range goals. Like, okay, I'm going to take these classes, I'm going to pass these tests, I'm going to study every day. So whatever those goals might look like. And this goes like right along with it. They need to be set at different levels. Sometimes you want to challenge yourself, sometimes you want to be realistic, and so you know yourself best. So you want to make sure that you are setting the goals in a way that is going to help you be successful. Here are some more suggestions on getting motivated, again, especially If you are taking 16-week courses and you're halfway through, a nice like refresher, remind yourself, set goals every time you sit down to do some work. Break up large assignments. If you have like a research paper, you want to break that up into smaller chunks so it's not so overwhelming. Reward yourself. For me, I reward myself by just watching like a Netflix series or something, an episode a night or so. Like, all right, I've got to sit down and grade. I've got to sit down and do this. And then I can watch, the new series of You that just came out or whatever it might be. So reward yourself and seek help if needed. Here's some other suggestions for staying motivated. Give yourself some positive self-talk. Sometimes we're really hard on ourselves. We beat ourselves up. So talk positively to yourself. Keep a schedule. So many of us come up with a work schedule and a class schedule, but we forget to put in study time, homework time. That's just as important. Take breaks and try to find things that motivate you both intrinsically, like the desire to do well, as well as extrinsically. You want an A. So find things that are going to motivate you in different capacities. And here again, looking at your motivation, reevaluate those goals, prioritize what you're doing, look at different resources for help as needed, and just kind of keep tabs on your motivation. Do like a weekly check-in with yourself. How's it going? Am I struggling? What do I need to address? Okay, that's part of chapter 2. The other part is organizing your space and time. So again, some of you might already have this down since you're halfway through, or it's a good time to check in and say, how am I doing with this? So you need a good physical and mental space to be able to succeed. So physically, you want to have a study space that is going to kind of conducive to your studying. For instance, if you study on your bed, odds are it's going to make you tired because you're in a very comfortable place. So you want to be able to have a place, whether it's at a table, a desk, a library, on campus, at home, that's going to meet your needs because it's going to allow you to be as distraction-free as possible, as well as it looks like an academic study space. So keep that space organized, prepare for interruptions as needed if you live with other people or if you're in a public space. Plan some breaks. So again, making sure that you are setting up that physical space. And then this talks a little bit about multitasking, how as humans, we typically will multitask. It is very natural for us to multitask. We tend to, watch TV while we're preparing dinner. But academically, we want to really focus on one thing at a time, because when we try to do 2 or more things, when we try to do homework with the TV on, or we try to do math for a little bit and then go to English and then go back to math, it takes us actually longer and the quality is less. So we want to try to make sure that we're single tasking what we work on. Okay. And then again, to try to control your study space, you want to go back to, I've mentioned time management a few times. Really get your time management under control. Anticipate how long tasks are going to take. Learn, this is a big one that I have trouble with as well. Sometimes you'll have to say no to people because you're setting priorities. And right now, school hopefully is in your top few priorities that you have in your life. So that might mean saying no to other things. All right. And then, as I said, chapter 2, you can go and look, and maybe time management is something you really struggle with. So you're going to spend some more time on that particular space. Okay. So as I said, please go through and just spend more time on the areas that are going to be more helpful to you. Now let's take a look at your assignments. Here's what you're doing for this week. You have 2 discussion forums this week. That doesn't happen every week. And I believe it happens one more time, but there are 2 discussion forums, which means you have to post in both by Sunday for week 1 attendance. Okay, you have to post in both by Sunday for week 1 attendance. So here's your chapter 1 discussion. Here's the prompt. You have this table here. Part 1, introduce yourself and discuss your major or certification. So that's like a sentence. Hey, my name is Linda. I'm majoring in education. There you go. Part 2. Here you have a table of 9 topics. You are selecting 4 of the 9. You don't have to do all 9. 4 of the 9. So let's just say, for argument's sake, I'm going to do these 4. Okay. I am going to, in every single one of these, kind of fill in the blank, but hopefully you'll have a little bit more to say than that. My most negative attitude toward college is, tell us what it is. What are you going to do to be more positive? Okay, that's 1. Second, tell us what your values are related to college. What other values might you have to put on hold? So again, you're going through and you're completing the statements for each of your 4 choices, okay? And if you watched the welcome video, hopefully you remember how to do a discussion post. If not, I'm gonna real quick remind you. You're gonna click in here. You're gonna go to create thread, and you'll see it post the prompt again. So it's right there for you. It's nice and easy. When you're ready, subject, you can put maybe just like chapter 1 discussion. And then down here is where you will type your actual response, and then you'll just hit submit. Okay. When you go to respond to a classmate, I'm just going to go in here real quick. When you respond to a classmate, you'll click on their thread and just hit reply, and you'll reply right in there. When you respond, that's not like yes, no, good job, okay. Like a meaningful response, everyone. Like a sentence or 2 meaningful response. That's how you're going to get your full points. Okay, let me go ahead and get back into our assignments there. So that's the chapter 1 discussion. Introduce yourself and then select 4 of the 9. That's due by Wednesday, your original response. If you post in the student lounge or the Muddy Point, that's great, but that doesn't count for attendance. So post in the chapter 1 discussion by Wednesday. Respond to 2 students by Sunday. So you have to go in and respond. So you get your attendance points for your original post by Wednesday. You get your full discussion points by posting your original response and responding to 2 students. Okay, here's your second discussion, chapter 2. You'll see it's going to look very similar. However, this one only has 6 topics, and you're going to choose 4 of the 6. So same idea. Look at the topics. Choose whatever 4 you want to respond to and fill in those statements. Okay? And again, post that by week 1, respond to 2 classmates by Sunday. All right. Then you have 2 more assignments this week. A Title IX training and quiz. When you click on that, it's going to open up in what I call like a moving talking slideshow. I think my volume is turned down low, so you're not really, okay, hearing it right now, but you're going to go in. It's going
this
to,
presentation is designed.
It's going to talk to you. You're going to read a little bit about Title IX, and then it's going to ask you some questions. Make sure you go through the very last slide, let it run all the way through, and then this is an automatically graded assignment, so your score will copy over into the grade book within like an hour or so. If it still says in progress after a couple hours, that probably means you didn't let it run all the way through, but that is due by Sunday. The College Resources Digital Scavenger Hunt is very similar. It's another talking, moving slideshow, but this is about the resources on our campus.
Stark State College off.
And again, it's going to talk to you, so you'll click through, and it's going to have you answer a bunch of questions as to where are things located? Okay? Where are things located on our campus? So that is going to be, again, automatically graded, due by Sunday. Okay, so those are the 4 assignments. You'll see underneath Handshake, it's not a graded assignment, but this is where all of those workshops are going to be done. Okay, so I would just go ahead and register now. So you click on it and it's going to have you go in. You're going to sign up there unless you already have an account. It says .edu. You guys don't have .edu. You have .net, and that's totally fine. You'll just write your starkstate.net email address right there. So just go ahead and register, get that out of the way so that when it comes time for you to register for a workshop, that's all you have to do. You won't have to register for Handshake. All right, so as a real quick recap for week 1, you are looking more in detail on the chapter 1 and chapter 2 materials. You are posting in the chapter 1 and chapter 2 discussion boards as it indicates, both by Wednesday for week 1 attendance. Respond to 2 classmates in each form, that's 4 responses total, by Sunday, and complete your Title IX and College Resources Digital Scavenger Hunt by Sunday as well. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Hope you all have a great first week of this session. Bye.